All right. Good morning. It's time again to work on the app. And what are we doing today? Uh, so a week ago, uh, we were. Let's see. It's fun. I have a list of all the things that have been done. I don't know if this is. I don't think this is in any particular order of like when they were done though. So that's kind of unfortunate. But we made some progress last week, right? So this week we're gonna try to make some more. I think the first thing I want to do is do the thing that I've been putting off the last couple streams, which is dealing with some dependency updates, which I know is always real fun. But get these out of the way, clean up our dependabot pull requests, and go from there. Probably most of the stream though today is going to be looking at the next couple of things on the backlog, which are I was thinking of doing this infinite scrolling feature for food search results. Actually, get the app up real quick. Gotta log in. Mm-hmm. Right, it's a food search. So let's see if we go to today's diary and add an item, and we search for ginger. Right now we get a fixed set of results. There's no pagination, no ability to look for more things, and so this is pulling 20 results from our database. If we use show all or click the find button, this is querying open food facts, and we're getting 24 results. There may be more things. It seems likely that there are, but we're only getting like a page of results. I don't know that we're actually specifying a number of items, so maybe the 24 is what Open Food Facts has. But regardless, if there were more results, we would not be getting them, and there's no way to like paginate through this. And I was thinking it would be neat if we could just keep scrolling, and as we scrolled, we would fetch more results in either view, like either in the full search or if we search for, I don't know, cube. There we go, one result in our database. If there were, say, 20 results in the DB, then we should be able to continually, or if there were like 50, and let's say initially we load 20, we should be able to we should be able to scroll and see more. So that is the idea with this next item, which we'll definitely get to today. Updating the dependencies is not going to take 3 hours. And then if we still have time, we can maybe look at this next one, which is don't attempt to retrieve user settings on non-authenticated views. So you may have not seen it when we were logged out and we hit the landing page here. We're getting this error because the app is just by default trying to request user settings, even if the user's not authenticated. If nothing else, we shouldn't be getting an error here. But ideally we would just not even attempt to query for user settings if the user is not logged in. So in a view that doesn't require authentication, right? So the landing page, you don't have to be logged in to access. Body composition calculator also doesn't require you to be logged in, at least right now. So we shouldn't be trying to fetch that information, or it shouldn't be an error. One of the two. Okay, so that'll probably take up most of the time for today. So let's dive in. So the first thing, update dependencies, no other details. Pretty straightforward. Dependabot was set up on this project quite a while ago to let us know when there are dependency updates. And some of these we may just take from Dependabot, probably like Prisma. we'll look at, but like for all the storybook stuff, since there's a bunch of different libraries, we will probably just create our own PR and go through and take all the updates together, because there's a bunch of packages for storybook. Looks like we're just saying next, so probably should update that now that next is here. Because we're waiting on the 7.x, 7.0 to come out. We were running off of a release candidate when started using Storybook in this project. So now that we're a little bit, past release, we could probably update that to be 7 or something. Let's look at Prisma though. So bumps Prisma from 4.11.0 to 4.14.1. So what I want to know is what's changed since 4.11. And we can just look at maybe the releases on the Prisma repo. So we're on 4.11 right now. What's new? What's different? What's going to break us? So we're here. So we don't need to review that. Well, so the next release after that was 4.12. Introspection of views, SQL improvements. Oh, we're not using this. Preview feature. And it reads the SQL query used to define a view and stores it in a SQL file in a views folder. Interesting. Not yet used for creating or updating views during migrations. Views are sometimes nice. Improvements to the JSON protocol. So this is another preview feature. So we're not using that. Prisma client startup performance. Improved performance. And then detailed fixes and improvements. Doesn't look like there's any listed backwards incompatible changes. Just looking for anything that maybe might touch on something we're doing now. It's always possible that the current implementation using Prisma is relying on something that was a bug. Objects with computer property don't have any of those. Too many records returned when using nested include. A unique field is null. Don't think that should be applicable to JSON protocol. Unique constraint failed. Okay. Okay, so this seems fine. Okay, so what was the next release? So that was 4.13. We're trying to go up to 4.14.1. So highlights introspection warnings on unsupported features. Prisma schema language is an abstraction over SQL, and will keep evolving to address gaps in our database feature matrix. Before this release, I don't think I've used this command yet. Prisma db pull. Since this is a greenfield project and we're just doing everything through Prisma, I don't think it would be applicable to us. But I might have to look at that at some point for other projects. To avoid this, yeah, okay. And introspection warnings for those things, okay. Improve support for netlify and versatile processes, not applicable to us. Better support for PNMP, not using that. Segmentation fault TLS connection error fix. Node 17 or later. I don't know what version of Node I have installed right now. Might be a pretty old version. 18, okay. Not that old. I mean, I guess 20's out now, but... JSON protocol preview, not applicable. Fixes and improvements. Basically what they were talking about above, serverless deployments, just making schema change, does not invalidate that. Okay. Debian post install script fails, generate. Okay. Hey, good morning. Welcome to the stream. I'm gonna guess, is it Clem? Is that an okay way of pronouncing your name? Perfect. Great. All right. It's a gamble sometimes, right? Uh, okay. So yeah, this 4.13 seems okay. So a couple more sets of release notes to look through. What am I working on today? Well, first, let me switch back here really quick. So, and actually, I'll put this in progress. So right now we're looking at upgrading our dependencies for the project because I've been putting that off for the last couple of streams. And then we're going to be working on infinite scrolling for food search. So in the app, all right, I have to log in again because I logged out to show something. In the app, you can go to the diary and you can add a food item. So you have to search for something. And right now, we just throw the first 20 results when we're fetching from the local database, or I'm not sure how many results we're fetching from Open Food Facts if we do the full search. But the idea would be that if there were more than this number of items, we'd be able to continue scrolling and it would fetch more and more data from the backend. Yeah, this is React and Redux now. Since I started streaming working on this project, most of the streams have been the introduction of Redux. But yeah, React, Redux, TypeScript, Prisma, all of these things. Storybook, Chromatic, ESLint, Jest, mock service workers, Prettier, Prisma, Jest. Oh yeah, there's more. TRPC, RxJS. Actually, I think not anymore. Oh, there's still a couple of places. What are we? Oh, we're still using that for the settings page. Okay, so we can't remove that yet. So a little bit of RxJS still too. That was what a lot of things were using that got replaced with Redux. I think we're not using Xtape anymore, right? Yeah, we can remove that dependency altogether. Okay. So yeah, upgrading dependencies, and then next step will be infinite scroll, and then let's see what we have time for later. This is going to be about a 3-hour stream is the goal. This is my one coding stream of the week. Yeah. Happy to field other questions. Do I work as a dev? Yeah, I'm what am I anymore? Nominally engineering manager these days, but still do a lot of coding. But yeah, happy to answer questions as we kind of go through. What are we a bunch of? It's true. We are just oscillations in the quantum fields, right? Presently, I'm trying to get through reading the release notes for Prisma, just to be cautious. I don't know. This is something I'm trying. I think is a good thing, all right? Instead of just blindly upgrading dependencies to actually look through and see what's changing. Rather do this now than have something break and then try to figure it out, months from now. Let's see. More client startup performance improvements, introspection warnings, various bug fixes. Remove something from there. Okay, this seems fine. Okay. Making the size of the generator Prisma client smaller. Okay. All right, and then 4.14.1 patch release. Prisma client fix something to do with Cloudflare. What was that comment? I'm learning React at the moment, currently working using Vanilla.js mostly for smaller web apps. One thing I've noticed so far is the heavy dependence on dependencies. Keeping up with releases seems somewhat tedious now. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I definitely see that point of view. On the other hand, um, this doesn't take too long to go through. It's something, it depends on what kind of dependencies you take. Like, there are packages out there that they released a version and then there's just, it's done, basically. Although there are things, the thing that can get annoying is, security vulnerabilities and stuff, and keeping on top of any dependencies you have that might introduce problems like that. On the other hand, what's the alternative, right? Especially for a project like this, I don't have time to re-implement the world, and there's lots of handy tooling and libraries out there to do things for me. So I'm going to leverage it, as much of that as I can, for what is essentially my pet project. It's a little different in a work setting, but yeah. At least I have Dependabot, which is at least opening pull requests for me to say, hey, here's a new version, and it tries. It gives me a little bit of the release notes. I just wanted it to go. It didn't go quite back far enough because it was truncated. A lot of clients who seem to be asking for a framework these days, React View, etc. Yeah, I think it's going to depend on what you're trying to build, right? So if you're trying to build a very complex web app, which this is not. This is a little complicated, but it's just going to be dependent on what you're trying to achieve, right? The what is being built should be driven by what the need is, what the requirements are for the particular projects or product. That's why I was how I recently converted over to using Redux. I didn't really see a need for it initially until I decided that I wanted to have the ability to have offline support for this app, so that you could have this pulled up on your phone or something, and maybe you're offline, and you'd still be able to have cached data and interact with the app, maybe do a quick ad of what you've eaten for a meal, and then it would be able to sync back. And thinking about the different options for how I might implement that, having using Redux was good for that. I've not used Vue or let's see. I came to React a number of years ago, and before that, I was using Angular. And then before that, I think the thing I used before Angular was Backbone for a little bit, which some I mean those all of those things are still used in places, right? All right. So this is good now. Backbone, that sounds familiar. Yeah, it, boy. Backbone JS. It's still stable release February, about a year ago. It originally came out 12 years ago. Isn't this, yeah, CoffeeScript. Yes, CoffeeScript. SoundCloud apparently is using Backbone. WordPress.com. Yeah. Yeah, an underscore and jQuery and yeah. It's not as embedded into how you actually get HTML on the page as something like React would be. Okay. Well, that's one dependency upgraded. I think next, all the storybook stuff. All right, so are all of the... Oh, and it's gone. Supersede. Oh, there's a new version right then. Or at least it's when Dependabot decided to check again was right then. Let's see. Okay, yeah, this was wait, 18, yeah, 2 days ago. Okay, so it would be hilarious if we're talking about the frequency of dependency updates, and in the middle of the stream, a dependency was updated. But no, this was 2 days ago. It's just Dependabot was triggered by me doing stuff and decided to check and realize that it was an update. Okay, so I think all of our storybook dependencies. I do find that it's the dev dependencies that get way out of hand, at least in the projects that I've been working on recently. Although, like, I've worked on projects that have like 0 to 3 actual like runtime dependencies, but most of the stuff is stuff for like build pipelines and for local dev and things like that. Whoops. Let's see, so I'll just discard changes. It was just removing X state. All right, and we're going to find the issue that we're currently working on, and we'll start working on that. Make a branch for us and all that, and we'll just remove X state. And since we don't need that, and then we're going to look at, I bet I could just like autocomplete this. Yeah, so 7.18. So we'll do, honestly, we could just do 7. Something like that. And so all of the storybook dependencies can be just 7. Next was the tag that was being used when the release candidate was being worked on for the 7.0 release. All right, is that all the storybook? A couple more. Okay. That should be good. Let's try npm installing that. Let's make a little bit more space for the terminal to work in. There we go. So Clem, how's your morning been going? Oh no, it didn't like that. Yeah, it was just a guess anyway, right? Storybook Jest does not have version 7. Wait, what? Oh, interesting. So there's a next. Or there was a next, or... Storybook Jest, yes? Storybook Jest? Oh, there we go. The tag was next. Interesting. I'm sure that's not going to be troublesome for us at all. Pretty lazy so far. Nice weather outside, but my place is too enticing. Might carry on to the docks for React in a bit. Alright, alright. Okay. Yeah, what was the first project I used React on? I was doing a lot of contract work quite a few years ago at this point, doing stuff with Angular. And then I started at, I was hired on at a company as an employee, which was kind of an unusual thing for me at the time. And they were using Angular on a lot of things. And we started, the team started to do some hackathons, and we started messing around with React. And yeah, then we had a kind of a greenfield project at one point, and got a chance to start using React on that. Yeah, we had a couple of little projects. That's right. But yeah, so kind of eased into switching from Angular to React. All right, so what was I doing? So Storybook testing library doesn't have a version 7 apparently. Okay, so a bunch of these things are just still on 0.1.0 apparently. Or interesting. So version history 0.1.1. Future. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it as next then. At least it was working. That was testing library. One of my clients is actually building a mobile app using Angular. Apparently, I'm meant to be taking it over at some point. Yeah, a mobile app using Angular. So, like using, let's see, what are the options there? I mean, I'm assuming you mean like actual, and something that's mobile friendly, but is a web app, or actually running it in like, what is it, Cordova, or what's the other one that I was looking at? For kind of wrapping a web app into a mobile app. I think I had a thing on my backlog too to look at it. It will be compiled to a fully installed app. Interesting. So I know with React, there's React Native to make like native UIs for mobile. Is there something similar for Angular? All right, this one might work. I have not really kept up to date with Angular. I guess since Angular 2 came out. It doesn't like something here. Probably because I have stuff. Okay, but it did succeed. So that's good. So, yeah, I think Ionic allows for compiling. Yeah, Ionic. That's a thing that people have mentioned before. Mobile UI toolkit. In Angular, apparently. I mean, this is like a carousel, but worse. it would be helpful because I can see looking at the link that it just takes me to the particular docs for that. Oh, and this takes me to, okay, pass. All right, anyway. I think someone mentioned it to me at some point. Log in, nope. Yeah. And I suspect I had a similar kind of interaction where I looked at it and it was like there were obstacles to digging into it, and I just have not spent the time since. Okay, I don't need to look at this pull request. So dependent pot just has 2 PRs left for me. Let's look at this next auth one. So this is just the carousels video. Well, I mean, at least with the carousel, you can just like, there's a way to navigate to see what the other options are. That's something. Or if it was something where you could click on it and it would take you a thing that would list all the different available things it supported, but it seemed like hovering over it, it was like this. It would obviously, from looking at the link, it would take you to the view or Angular and specific things, and then it didn't actually take you there. It took you to a login page. So, like compiling this daily Joule into a mobile app isn't really something I'm planning on doing. I might do it at some point, but that's not really kind of something I care too much about. I'll be happy if I can load this up on in Firefox on my phone and be able to interact with it reasonably well there with like offline support and all that stuff when we get there. I'm not primarily like, I do have a, what even is this? Samsung something or other Android phone. And I use that pretty much all the time, but it's not really, I don't live on my phone. I'm more of a desktop computer user. Nice. Do you have hosting for it? It's all local right now. That is something that I should actually put on the backlog as a thing, because really welcome to the backlog, by the way, for this project. I think I had this on screen a bit already, but the idea here is all the up next stuff is the stuff I want to do before I get this app out on the internet. Things like adding a terms of service is kind of probably an important thing to do, but then also just like things that I really want it to have, or things that are like, that's kind of janky. I want to fix that before it's out there for people to look at and judge me by. But I don't have a thing on here to do like, oh yeah, there's capacitor.js was the one I was thinking of before. API rate limiting. That should actually be here too. Wait. Nah, it's fine for the moment. I maybe need to adjust what some of the things are up next, but that was the thinking though, was that all the up next stuff I wanted to do before we figure out how to deploy this DevOps is the thing I was going to add right there though. So where am I going to host it? I don't know. Right now, the backend is just running locally, and then I have I'm just using SQLite because Prisma supports that. Although there are certain things I would like to add that I have to-dos to add in here that are like, oh, you need Postgres or something to do full text search. Would you use something like Thingy, which takes your GitHub and hosts it? The first thing that I think of when you say takes your GitHub and hosts it, sort of, but I think is kind of defunct now, is Heroku. But yeah, I don't know. Because back in the day, this would be like what year is it? So like 8 years ago, that would be the go-to for like deploying a small app, even with needing Postgres, would be putting it on Heroku. Netlify. I've not looked at Netlify. What is Netlify? There we go. I can't click those sponsored links because my local ad blocker prevents DNS resolution for Google's ads. Okay. This looks very fancy. Very white. Very bright. Okay, they have solutions. Okay, so here we go. Netlify Dev. This reminds me of Heroku initially, but presumably, do they have a with the Next.js? Deploy your app now. Takes me to a sign up page, of course. Takes your GitHub to a website. Sure. Do they provide a database? How much does it cost? $0 to get started. Okay, well, maybe I'll look at it. It's free. It's free. Deploy static assets and dynamic serverless functions. But what about database? DB. The fact that it doesn't talk about that suggests that it might not be something that would be suitable for my my use case. Yeah, not sure it has storage. You have stuff sort of file somewhere. If I was, oh hey, thanks for the follow, appreciate it. Someday we're gonna hit 50 followers, which is what this channel needs for affiliate, and so we can do like subs and channel points and all that stuff. But every follow helps getting to that. What was I gonna say? Oh, so if I was serious about like turning this into, well, chipping away at it, right? If I was serious about turning this Daily Jewel thing into like a business, if I was doing this like a startup, or put it a different way, if I had funding and I plan to make money from this app, I might look at doing AWS because for getting started, it would be fairly inexpensive, and I know exactly how to deploy stuff onto AWS because that's what I do on my day job, and I could probably do it in a way that would be very inexpensive, at least initially, and would be kind of set up and not forget but monitor. I don't know. I haven't thought about it too much because it's not something that I feel like I need to care about until it's ready to be put on the internet. But to get there, first we need to upgrade Next off from 4.20.1 to 4.22.1. So what changed? Oh yeah, they have so many services, so many products, so many things. From storing files and databases to something to do with satellites, plus all the machine learning stuff. And yeah, I don't know. I've the more services they have, the smaller the fraction of services that I've actually used. Whereas, years ago I could say, I've used most of them, but that is long in the past. All right. Okay, next auth 4.20. We're on 4.20.1, so presumably 4.21 was the next version. Features make it possible to update the session. What does that mean? Bug fixes. JWKS URI to be set for non-well-known. Interesting. And add types for the index provider. Mark ID and update users always defined. Revert something. Make it possible to update the session. Updating the session. Use session hook exposes thing. Interesting. Edit name. Huh. Interesting. Okay. And then prioritize next auth URL internal for deployments behind a proxy. That's not something we're using, right? Good. Okay. And then 4.21.1 revert session callback type changes. Okay. 4.22.1 detect origin when instance of request check fails. Other provide SVG for Reddit. Add Fusion auth to README supporters. Yeah, Fusion auth. I've heard of them. Move next auth from v4 to main. Are we? Okay, so we're on 4. What about this next auth Prism adapter? Do we need to update that at all? So we're on 1.0.5, roughly. 1.0.6 is out. I think once you become a affiliate, you get all the options for 480p, 360p. I'm not sure what you mean. On the stream? Huh. Oh yeah. I guess right now, looking at the video quality options, there's just the 1080p 60 source option. Yeah. I see. Yeah, I don't know. I hadn't really noticed that before. Okay. I think this is good though. So I'm going to yeah. Let's so this was the changes to remove XState and update Storybook. There are probably other dependencies we can update, but Dependabot will let us know. Make a nicer PR title for Future Us. Apparently not up to date. And go ahead and auto-merge that. And go ahead and update this. Auto-merge that as well. All right, and I think this should auto-close once this PR merges. So we are basically done with this. That took a little longer than I thought it was going to. but that's fine. Okay, so next up is infinite scrolling for food search results. So I was looking at this a little bit before the stream. Just wanted to make sure that I had some clue as to what I would do this stream. And I think this is a good idea. We're going to try it. And if it ends up being not good, it can always be removed, but we'll try it out. 1 second. House is warmed up a little bit. Time to take off the hoodie. Okay, so things that need to happen for infinite scrolling that I identified before was to figure out how to add it to the UI, figure out how that's going to work. I don't remember the last time I implemented something in React to do, like, you scroll down a list and it, triggers loading of more information. It's been a long time. And then, assuming we figure that out, add page-based pagination to API calls to Open Food Facts. So Open Food Facts is this open database of food information. Here's some of their API docs I was looking at before the stream started. So we're already using that API, but right now we are, I think, let's just look. Get back to main, pull that down. There we go, Open Food Facts. So we have this little wrapper around the API, and it's very bare bones. We're fetching this URL and we're just injecting the name into this. This is not probably the best way to do this, but it's what we're doing right now. And they actually, I did see that Open Food Facts, they have a org in GitHub and they have a repo with the Node.js wrapper, but it doesn't seem to support searching like this. It has some other API things. Like, I think we could do UPC lookup of products like this, but it doesn't do the search. And that was the main thing I cared about here. So I just rolled my own, which obviously was not, it's not amazing, but it works. So right now we're not telling it anything about like how many results to fetch or pagination or anything like that. So we'll need to expand on like add pagination options to our function here. And then in the actual app, the front end doesn't call this directly, right? So this is something that's being run in the back end, and it's being called by a TRPC procedure, find external by name. And so part of what this does is it fetches the data from Open Food Facts, and it actually merges that data through an upsert into the food information in our database via Prisma. And then it takes that absorbed data and it cleans it up for presentation and returns it to the front end. So the front end is making a TRPC, HTTP call, essentially, to the back end, and that is hitting this, and it's making this call to Open Food Facts, and it's saving it to the DB and returning those results. So this procedure also needs to be paginatable. I think for this, and there's another procedure called find by name. So find by name does not do the Open Food Facts search. It just searches the data that's already in. And you can see here, we're just taking the first 20 results based on something that contains the name. So both of these procedures need to change to take a cursor so we can paginate through results. And then in the case of the one that calls Open Food Facts is the Open Food Facts API, then we need to translate that cursor into something to get the next page of results. I suspect our cursor is going to just be like a page count under the hood, but we'll call it a cursor so that we'll treat it as opaque value on the front end, so that should the way this is working internally change, we won't have to change the front end. So that's that. And then add cursor state to UI. So the food search information, like what kind of search we're doing and the results, are being stored in a redux slice in the front end. And so what we'll want to do is have something that keeps track of like what the cursor is for like how many results we've gotten so far. So like if we've gotten let's say we've fetched 24 results and we scroll down. When we scroll down to the bottom, it should trigger something that says, okay, I got a cursor from the back end after I fetched these 24 results. Now let me ask the back end, give me more results starting at this cursor. And so Redux will have that cursor to be able to use in subsequent calls to fetch additional records. So that's the game plan for that. So I see Chromatic is saying that something has changed in okay, yeah, this always happens. Because this is an animated button, sometimes sometimes it looks slightly different, so that's fine. That's normal. At some point, I'll have to make it so that visual test does not constantly detect problems. But that won't be right now. All right, and then Dependabot is rebasing that PR, so that's fine. And is now out of date again. Okay. I'll check back in on that later. Okay, so infinite scrolling. Yeah, well, we'll get started on this. I'm going to be taking like a 5 to 10 minute, probably like 5-minute break here in about half an hour. But we can get a half hour's worth of stuff done and go from there. So let's find in the code where we're going to start making changes. So not in server, not in external APIs, in the components tree. There is a component. Now, at some point weeks ago, I decided, actually a good number of weeks ago, I think before I started streaming this, I decided that I saw this pattern for organizing components based around like whether the component is like a foundational atom or if it's a component that's built up of atoms and so on and so forth up to the level of like templates and pages. I'm not completely sold on this at this point because the question is, if I'm looking for something, where do I look? Is it a molecule? Is it an organism? So I think what I want to do, the file I want, hey, I was right. It's meal add food. So meal add food is this dialog. Maybe the file should be called meal add food dialog. Anyway, regardless, this dialog is the thing that opens when we go to here, this dialog here, which does a lot of things. And then inside of it, so you have dialog content. So this is coming from the Material UI library. Yeah, up here, MUI. I just call it MUI most of the time when I'm talking about it, because Material UI is a lot to say over and over again. And then, so we have a food search component, which is the thing up here, like the search text and these buttons. And this also contains our barcode scanner capability that I don't think I've shown on stream because I don't have a webcam hooked up at the moment to be able to show that, and that's how I would show that on a desktop. I guess at some point I could set up like a virtual camera in OBS uh, to show that, but I'm not going to deal with that right now. So that's the food search component. This is also hooked up to Redux, so like as you interact with this, it updates state information. And then here is where we're showing the search results list. All right, so the search results list is what's actually showing the results, either of a quick search or the full search. So this is like a full search result. If I were to just change some text, there we go. Then we can see the quick search results there. So in either case, the only difference in the UI is this part here, and then search results list is showing the actual list of results. So I imagine that what we want to do is we want to go to this file, which is a molecule, apparently. And so we have a results list component. This is the actual like thing that's showing the list of results. It's just a pure functional component. And that is being used somewhere down here. So we have results list item. So results list item renders out the individual item. Right. So this is what we see when we click the plus sign. So this is still the same container, that dialogue and all that stuff, all that. But we get results list item. How does this work? How does this work? Oh, I get it. Okay, so this UI is what we see if we cancel. That's this single item here. Is all of this inside of results list item. And then results list just is iterating over the data to show those components. So this is this whole thing we're not using Redux here. We're just taking in the data that's being passed in and rendering it, I think. Okay. So I think this is good in that if we were doing something where we were getting obviously we're passing in the search results as a prop here. That's kind of a good signal that we're not using Redux in here to get the data. But if we had like not had this here and actually had this being selected inside of the component, it might be a little awkward in terms of how are you going to attach the scrolling detection? Like, I suspect that we're going to have to attach to this dialogue content somehow to detect that we're scrolling. I don't know. I wonder if Material UI has something that will help us in detecting that scrolling. Like, do they just have it'd be convenient if they had an infinite scroll something or other. Like I said, it's been a number of years since I've tried to implement something like this. Tab scroll button is almost certainly not what we want. What is this? No. Scrolling, scrollable tabs, scrolling long content. Hey, dialogue. When dialogues become too long for the user's viewport or device, they scroll. Scroll equals paper. The content of the dialogue scrolls within the paper element. Scroll equals body. The content of the dialogue scrolls within the body element. So what does that look like? So I think, yeah. Which one is the default? I'm guessing paper is? I think that's, yeah. That's the behavior that we have right now. So what we want to do is we want to detect when we are near the bottom of this to trigger, to dispatch an action. Modal limitations. What is this limitations? Focus trap, accessibility, unstyled. Nested, performance, transitions. Okay. Let's do this. Google is our friend. Let's see. Intersection Observer API. We are already using that in the settings page. That could be applicable, right? So here on the settings page, we have this little nav item, navigation item, so that you can go between sections of the settings page. And one of the things, I implemented this before I started streaming, doing this project, but what this does is this uses the intersection observer API, the thing that blog article was just talking about, to see where we are scrolled on the page, and then based on kind of where we are, highlight a particular item in the nav. And it's kind of works. It's a little janky given the size of the sections. Like we kind of just skip over diary there. Yeah. Because diary is such a small section and just how things align, but it's kind of neat. But maybe we could use that same capability to detect when we are scrolled near the bottom of the dialog. Let me find that page. Settings layout. I think that's the component that does that. And so we have a, let's see, content. This could probably be extracted out into a hook if we needed to use this somewhere else. I don't think we'll use the exact same logic. So how does this work? So we have, oh, I see. This is the one place we're still using our XJS. I think I was actually had this pulled up at the very beginning of the stream when we were looking at dependencies. So we have this intersection observer that can monitor some elements, a list of elements. And what does it give us? Let's look at the implementation of this. So we create an observable, and so this is our RxJS observable, and it's powered by using intersection observer. So this function is executed when? So we take the list of elements, and for each one we tell observer instance to observe that element. Return observable amidst the intersections found by intersection observer. Is this right? So intersection here is referring to the fact that we are, like, the current viewport is intersecting with the observed elements, I think is what this is what this is signifying. And so every time the intersection observer observes something, then what we do is we take the entries and we filter it to filter only the entries that are intersecting, and then we pass that list to next to basically feed the observable that we're returning back. If we had an element, let's go back here. Let's say in our search results, if at the end of the list we had a loading more little placeholder element, we could detect when that element is visible, essentially, I think, with the intersection observer. And then we would then be able to use that fact that it's visible to dispatch an action. I think that could work. Yeah. I'm convincing myself that this is a good idea. Okay, so how do I want to actually implement this though, right? So I think we could put something right here after search result list. No, thank you. All right, hold on one second. Okay. At least next time that will stop bothering me. I've and this came up in the last stream too, that Copilot, GitHub Copilot will suggest something, and then I'll hit escape, and then the AWS Code Whisperer thing that's part of that toolkit decides that it wants to interpret my escape as me talking to it, if you will. So anyway, so I could have like a component here of some kind, and what would the props for this component be? Looks like something got merged. Like I could have something pretty general purpose here. Or I could just, you could put a div here, and it says, scroll down to see more results. That's good enough wording. And then we could, attach this to a ref that we'd have to create up at the top. And then just do all the logic in here. I might do that just for right now so that we can see this work. I don't have any other place in the UI where I want the same kind of functionality. So I guess I might leave that embedded in this for the time being until I have a reason to have this logic elsewhere. Doesn't feel great, but it will work. So let's do const. Yeah, see, I'm not even using dispatch here because this is not the connect. Oh yeah, right. This is not the connected component. That's fine. Const. Call this scroll ref. It picked the right kind of type. Okay, if is open. No. I mean, I think the is open part is right. Maybe. So where was I using intersection observable? Okay. What is this logic doing? We're mapping over the elements that were intersected. And we're getting, all right, because this has to do with how settings is working. And then we're trying to figure out what is the closest thing, and then returning that ID, and then we subscribe to it. Okay, so we don't need to do any of that. I do need for this to say, there it goes again, is open and scroll ref. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Okay. We can also check that the ref is actually linked to an element. Right, but this takes a list, so we'll just make a list of one element. And eventually things will catch up. Oh no, it's a node list of. Well, that's not right. Can we make the type more general? What is a node list of? It's just something that's iterable, right? Does that break the types for something else? Probably. Not assignable to that. Node list of is missing. Wait, how are we using elements? We're just doing for each, right? So why can't we just say, yeah, there you go. It's one of those two things. Perfect. Okay. I might have to restart VS Code in between during the break just to make that go away. I like hitting escape. All right, so what am I trying to do here? I want to... Yeah, I don't know that I need pipe. I could probably just subscribe. And that will give me values. So let's just see what happens if I do something like that. What happens? Okay, there's that. Let's refresh. Helps if I'm on the console page. Tab. Okay, click that. And then our usual things about blur height not being a thing. Let's search for ginger. Okay. Nothing is happening. That's not what I want. Scroll ref. Am I missing something? HTML development. We are using scroll ref down here. If there are results, obviously this is rendering to the page. Okay. Sure. I'll take it. Oh. Scroll ref.current div test array empty. Test array, there's a thing. And the thing is intersecting. And then if I scroll up, it's not intersecting anymore. What if I scroll down and I continue to scroll down? It doesn't trigger multiple times. All right. I guess for this, really all we need to do is check to see that values dot, I guess we could filter. Length. Actually, we don't even need, we can just say sum. Something is intersecting, and if it is, then we want to do something. We want to dispatch. Of course, we're not going to dispatch from here. We're going to dispatch in our connected component, which is up here above, and we'll just pass in a handler. So on scroll to bottom is a name that Copilot has suggested for us, so we'll just use that. And this should be there, and we actually need to have it in the props, not just in the type. There we go. And then we just need to define const handle scroll to bottom, sol.log scroll to bottom. And now will Copilot suggest the right line? Yes. So you can see it shows in the console scroll to bottom because we're at the bottom of the page. Test array. Didn't I remove? Huh. So the old one is still there? Shouldn't we have disconnected it? Shouldn't intersection observable? Right. So what does subscribe return? There. That's the bit we're missing, because on when the component's unmounted, we want to unsubscribe, I think. That should, I mean, in practice, it's not going to matter for us probably, but at least in dev, we won't end up in a situation where we could end up having the app reload and unmount, remount the component and have it have multiple instances of intersection observable present. All right, so you see there's no scroll to bottom message here, but if we go all the way to the bottom, oh yeah, there we go. 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. There's some stuff we'll probably have to do around like loading state and preventing it from triggering while we're loading, and you know, indicating here that yeah, we're fetching more results now, and that sort of stuff. And it's kind of weird, right? Because you can't see that until you scroll down, but it says scroll down to see more results. But that's what I just did. Anyway, we'll figure that out. Let's figure it all out. Okay. So we didn't need, just need a little bit of inspiration. A prompt to look at intersection. What is it actually called? The actual thing? Intersection observer. Which is fun because then we wrap it in our RxJS observable and we have an intersection observable. Right. So that gets us to the point where we can know that we scroll to the bottom, which I think was the first thing that we were trying to do. Figure out how to add infinite scroll to search results UI. I think we've done that. That was the thing that I was most uncertain about coming into this, so glad we did that first. The remaining things are updating backend stuff. And then finally, at the end of that, coming back to the front end and hooking up state to be able to leverage the backend changes. Probably what we'll do is when we do the backend work, we'll make the page number, like the number of results, pretty small, so that when we're working in the UI, it's pretty easy to see like the loading working. Let's make these checkboxes. That's okay. It was not as helpful as I was hoping it would be. And just do it by hand. Bam. All right. And how is this doing? It's still thinking. Oh, right. Probably same deal. One change must be accepted as baseline. Probably the same non-change. Yeah. See, now you can see in the baseline it's slightly different. I should figure out how to make it so that it takes as baseline like the view at one point in time when the animation of the button is stopped or whatever. But again, I'm not dealing with that right now. All right, now that's merged. That means the this item here should go over to done at some point. And this should auto close itself once the Dependabot realizes that the PR, yep, there, it's rebasing. It's probably just going to close itself because it realizes that we've already updated that dependency. Come on now. Oh, there you go. Closed. Yeah, I just had to interact with UI a little bit. Okay, so it has been nearly an hour and a half. I'm going to take a break here, stretch legs, refill water, all that stuff. Put up the BRB screen. Be back in just a few minutes, and we'll resume working on infinite scrolling for food search results. All right, BRB. All right, back to it. Okay. So, next up, add page-based pagination to API calls to OFF. Okay, so that should be relatively straightforward to do, I think. Let me also get a new branch going here for these changes. There we go. Something's unhappy. It'll be fine. It'll figure itself out. That's just my TSC watch being confused. Okay, well, hopefully that'll fix itself. So this is the file that we need to change first. So I think I'm going to leave the UPC search alone. I don't think, in fact, I think I explicitly said, yeah, just for searching by name. It's, I think, possible to get, no, I think we are actually anticipating that we'll just get one product if we're searching by UPC. Okay, so for search foods by name, let me collapse this. We don't need to change any of this other stuff. It's just this one function. It's relatively straightforward. I think we just need to tell it to paginate, right? So I have the API docs here, and there's some arguments, some query parameters to pass in. Looks like page and page size. And so what's interesting, we should be able to see an immediate effect, because before we were seeing like 26 results. So if we change the page size to 20 here, and we go back here, and so this is quick search, but if we hit the button, this does the backend call. Will this work? Or will this, because this also hits the DB. Okay, 20 results. So before we were seeing 24 results. So this will be good, because this will demonstrate, once we get this hooked up, we'll be able to scroll to the bottom, hopefully, and get the other 4 results, or however many there are. Okay. So I think what I want to do is I want to do... yeah. Copilot's got it. That's what I wanted to do. And then I think, yeah, page size and page. And it looks like... I'm gonna guess it starts at page 1. So hopefully that's right. So we'll yeah, page size equals page size, page equals page. Ta-da! All right. So now, if we do the same search, we should see the same results. Yep. If we were to change this to have a default of 2 and do the search, maybe we'll see different things. We get another 20 results, which is neat. So that shows that when we were getting 24 results, that was just the default page size, I guess. So that's pretty interesting. Okay, so add page-based pagination to API calls to OFF. Yep, that's done. Okay, add cursor to search procedures, right? So the front end is using TRPC to call the back end. So, for example, where does that code in the front end live that calls the back end? It lives in store, slices, food search. So we got a thunk here for search that calls, it uses our TRPC util. Pull that up briefly. This is using some code provided by the TRPC client. And the nice thing about this is, like, when we're coding like these thunks that are calling TRPC, well, I think we don't really see it too much in the case of, like, in the streams where I was coding this, because often Copilot will just, like, write the code and is usually right on this. Oh yeah, I didn't restart VS Code, but yeah, so you can see there's type information here. There we go. It knows. I don't know what that deprecated name thing was about, but it's not really relevant to us. Anyway, undo all that. There we go. So with TRPC, we can define in the back end what the shape of, like, the input and outputs are, and then we get that type information in the front end code to know what we're supposed to be passing in without having to, like, jump back and forth, and we're getting that type checked as well after the fact. So to look at the procedures that we need to change, we need to change find by name and find external by name. So find external by name is the one that is calling our search foods by name external API. And we're going to need to change it So we need to add some kind of cursor input to the find by name input validator. So we're using Zod here, this validation library, to define kind of the shape of inputs and outputs for our procedures. And what does the cursor look like is a question. Well, we know that internally, like what we're going to do is we're going to pass a page number to search foods by name. We're probably not going to pass in the page size. And if we do, it's not going to be coming from the cursor. So it's just going to be a page number. Did we define that as... Okay, it inferred it being a number. And then we convert it to a string via our string interpolation there. So... thinking we could... I think the cursor should be at least a string. I do think you could have like an object that represents the cursor. That might be... I don't know that it matters. In a situation where this was like we were building an API for consumption elsewhere, there might be some desire to future-proof things by having an object, and then we could add additional keys and then have compatibility based on what keys are present. But in this case, I think that's a little unnecessary. Let's not solve problems we don't have. So name here is just that. We're going to have a cursor. And it could be a number. Let's do this. Let's do the same thing we did with name, where we'll have a reusable validator. And so there will be an optional string for the cursor for the find by name input. And then what we'll do is const page equals input dot... Yeah, so if there is a cursor, we'll try to parse it. And see, I don't like... Am I gonna have to do this code elsewhere? Let's do this. So there is some... So this is not sufficient, right? So parse int could parse input.cursor, but it could be something that's not a number, and then we would get not a number back. And I don't want to pass not a number around. Let's make a util. Extract page number from cursor. Will it be string or undefined? Okay, if not cursor, return 1. Oh, right. I know how to TypeScript. No, I mean, that's a way to, like, if this was going to be, again, an externally accessible API, I might base64 encode the cursor just to discourage folks from trying to interpret what the cursor meant, but that's a bridge too far. So We're going to say number equals % cursor 10. If is an AN, return 1, return number. That's all. I think that's enough. I'm not going to take this too far. And then page is going to be that. And then, of course, it doesn't know. There we go. Beautiful. Now, the output of this also needs to be different. It needs to be some kind of object that has the results and has a next. And this means the front end is going to change. Yep. Okay. Okay. Do I want to call... I guess I'll call it cursor. Okay. And then what we'll do is we'll return. Yep. Okay. Now, how do I feel about this code that Copilot is suggested for us? If we get 20 results, then... Well, this is definitely not right. What we probably need to do is say const page equals that. And then page plus 1. There's probably something in the resulting API from export page number or from search foods by name that tells us like how many results there are, but I'm not going to change this interface more to be able to support that, so this will be fine. String optional. Not optional, nullable. There we go. So in Zod, nullable is what you use if you want it to be the value or null, and optional is what you want to have if it's undefined or the type. And then you can do nullish, which supports both. So it would support either a string or null or undefined, and I try to avoid doing that. Imagine a Boolean field, but it's also nullish, so it can actually have 4 different possible values. No thanks. Okay, so now that has broken a bunch of things, I'm sure, because we changed kind of what the input shape and output shape of these things are. But we're going to do the same thing to find by name. I guess effectively we already did that because we changed this find by name input validator. But we want to also change find by name to have an output shape that has results in cursor. Yep. So here we could actually use a cursor. Right now the issue is that we're not sorting the results in a particular way. Ideally we'd have full text search, and maybe we could sort based on, you know, how good the match is to the input. I think we might want to sort based on how how recently the food was added. That might make sense for this, for like a quick search. Order by. What are the fields that we have? Updated on? Or created on? Updated on? Descending. So largest value on the top, which would be the most recent. And we'll take... So how do we want this to work, right? So if we're doing this way, then also, one second, I saw something interesting here. What is cursor here? Is that actually a thing, or is that something that's imagined? Find many. Arg, select subset. Huh. Let me... Here we go. Yeah, it can take a cursor. ID my cursor. What does this do? So this should be comparing the cursor value to the ID column in the table. You must sort by your cursor, which has to be a unique sequential column. Cursor-based pagination uses cursor and take to return a limited set of results before or after a given cursor. A cursor bookmarks your location in a result set. It must be a unique sequential column, such as an ID or a timestamp. So we could use timestamp. Since this is the first query, there's no cursor to pass in. Yep. Skip the cursor. Okay, so what we could do here, const cursor options. Okay, if there is that, then we'll have a cursor, and ID will be input.cursor, except it's not ID, it's updated on. Skip one, otherwise undefined. Right, so then we would be able to pass in cursor options. Doesn't like that. Right, so it just needs to be an empty object. So we can spread it. What's it not happy about? Updated on string has no properties in common with type. Aw. Yeah. Okay. So let's try. If we provide the cursor here. Oh, I see. It has to be something that has like a an index on it. So we have to do ID. I guess that's not... I don't hate it. It probably doesn't like it because ID is supposed to be a number and this is a string. Why did I call the function export? That's not right. Should be like extract. Actually could be extract a number from cursor. I think is also a good name for it. And has the benefit of being a name that makes sense where I'm about to use it. No, because I wouldn't want it. Okay, never mind. Change my mind again. Extract page number from cursor. Makes sense. I do definitely want to go down this road of taking advantage of this cursor pagination for Prisma. It's the right thing to do, I think, in this the situation. That's why the API, the input, is a cursor. I'm just kind of debating in my head, you know, how much work I want to put into doing this a good way. See, if we have a cursor, yeah, we can do that. We can do that. No, I don't like doing that at all. Let's do if input.cursor. See, this is why I extract the other one to a function. It gets kind of awkward. Again. Let's call it extract cursor. And if there's a cursor, I'll say const id equals parsent cursor 10. outputs. NaN, return undefined. And then otherwise, we want to return this object. Return undefined. And then cursor options equals extract cursor. Yep. That makes me a little happier. I mean, granted that the order by needs to also be there, we might as well also throw it in. What are you unhappy about? ID string is not assignable to cursor ID. Order by ID descending. Take 20. Okay. Well, it doesn't seem happy about how that affects types, so I'll just undo it for now. I do think that it probably makes sense, though, to have the order by along with the other cursor options, just because they are, if you change one, if you change this, you also need to change this, and vice versa. But I don't feel like dealing with whatever the type of error was going on there. And so the other thing we need to do, so we have results. Now we need to change the shape of the output. And we could, I guess that works. Except it's not, that is nullable. Okay, yeah. So if we got 20 results, because we know that we're taking 20, take the last result, which is number 19, and grab the ID and convert it to a string. That is, I guess that works. So the first call to this procedure, you're not going to pass a cursor. It'll be, it's optional, so it'll be undefined. So this will be an empty object. And so the query will ask for 20 results starting from the beginning, because we're not giving it offsets or anything like that. We're not skipping anything. None of that's happening. This is undefined. And so, that should just be that then, shouldn't it? Right, because we're spreading cursor options. What's the problem here? Type ID number, not assignable to type undefined. Cursor undefined, skipped undefined. What do you mean? That's funny. That it was fine with me returning undefined and it's spreading undefined? Null is not assignable to that? Okay, that's weird. I don't have a TS node installed. Do I have a Quokka? So if I do console log and I have an object and I have ... undefined. Okay, it doesn't choke on that. It's kind of, I mean, this isn't happy about it, but it runs, so okay, let's live with it. Okay, at least it moves us in the right direction. Now what we need to do is we need to fix all the things that we broke, which is many things, probably. So we now need to get from payload the results in a couple of places. No, that's fine. State results. Type cursor string results, blah, 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 blah. So we are probably... Where is this defined? It's a food array. So that's fine. What's the problem here? Action payload. And search fulfilled. All right, so now we are in a situation where find external by UPC has a different output shape than find external by name. And so probably the best way to deal with that is to change the output of find external by UPC to at least have the same object with with results. We'll just not have a cursor. Wrap the single result in even more wrapper. Great. And now that's why we couldn't just do payload.results, because in one case we would reach here and payload would have results. In the other case, it would just be an array. I think I probably just need to restart TypeScript watch, huh? In fact, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to restart VS Code just so that maybe that code whisper error will stop when I hit escape. It won't happen again. So far, so good. Let me go back to here and close down some of the old tabs that get auto opened. Let this start up again. Prisma. All my fake data. Storybook. It'd be good to make sure that this still loads. I guess so. It would have probably failed in Chromatic if the dependency upgrades had caused a problem. There we go. And we have no open PRs. All the dependency stuff got merged in. So that's good. All right, so we got that. We got that. Refresh this page. Normal class name thing. Okay. All right. So what we've been doing is adding cursor to search procedures. Okay, so TSC, are you good now? Found 0 errors. Okay, so that wasn't too bad. Just the 2 lines really here that need to be updated, plus going back to the UPC one to make it consistent. So now, I think we have it set up where this will work. Oh, hey, thank you for the follow. Really appreciate it. It's helping the channel grow. All right, back to it. So next step is to add the cursor state to the UI. Right, so we got the procedures to deal with these cursors, whatever kind of cursor they may be. As it turns out, we ended up with a situation where for one procedure the cursor is interpreted one way, and in the other case, it's interpreted a different way. I guess that is going to be kind of interesting. Fortunately, I don't think it matters that the search results have a different behavior, because one is labeled clearly as like quick search. Oh, hey, no problem. Nice to see someone doing some React as a beginning newbie myself. Well, hey, happy to field any questions you may have. Um, I've been doing React stuff for a number of years now. I I don't know that I am. I don't know that I would call myself an expert, but I have been dealing with React for a number of years. Lately, in my professional life, I do a lot of. I don't get a chance to do a lot of front end stuff, which is why I like for these coding streams to be able to do some more front end oriented things. But also the front end stuff I do at work is more. Um, we have libraries, things like React Admin that are using React under the hood, and I'm dealing with those more than lower level stuff. But like I said, I'm happy to try to answer questions about what I'm doing and why, and yeah. But welcome to the stream. I'm guessing that should be pronounced reconcile. Let me know if you would like me to say that a different way. I got it. Excellent. All right. Well, welcome again, reconcile. So now we're gonna bring this all together and get the front end hooked up to our TRPC procedures. So now I have to remember how that's supposed to work. I guess. Let's do this. Let's go to the UI. So the idea is that if I type ginger, we get 20 quick search results. And if I scroll down to the bottom, there's a thing that says scroll down to see more results. One thing that we should probably be doing is storing the cursor that we get back on that initial search into the store. Since part of a design decision that was made when I converted this stuff to Redux was that we were going to store like the search results and the stuff in Redux. That became kind of necessary because we wanted kind of the different state information about how we were doing the search to be in Redux, and so it's I guess we could have done it differently, where we were using React query in the component, and the elements that we were using to query were in Redux, but the actual query results were being fetched directly in the component. We could have done that instead. Or thinking about some point if it becomes bothersome that it's this way, but for now, it's the way that it is. So in quick search fulfilled, what we want to do is we want to say state.cursor action.payload.cursor, right? And then we'd want to do the same thing in search fulfilled. So for the full search, we'd also want to store the cursor. It doesn't exist on type, you say. I'm pretty sure it should. Why doesn't it? Oh, right, because this could be... Right. So this search fulfilled case, we're doing potentially two different searches. Either we're searching by UPC or we're searching by name. So I guess that really means what we need to do is we really need to make the output of find external by UPC to be exactly the same as the other one. Cursor is null. Can it just be null? Okay, cool. And it will just always be null. Right, so now this is still an error because we haven't added this to the type for food search state, but this should be fine. It'll always be there. Sometimes it'll be null, but that's true for the other one too, because if we get a page of results and that's the only page, then the cursor will be null. And that also informs something else. Let me add the type information. So we'll also say cursor starts off as null in our initial state, and then in the type results, string or null. Copilot is sometimes helpful, sometimes not as much, but okay. So I want a selector select has more results. Okay, so yes, if the cursor is not null, then there are more results. Right, and the reason I want the selector is in add food, meal add food is the component. We want to, I think we only want to show this div, say to scroll down for more results, if there are in fact more results. So more results, and yep, and then we'll add more results is Boolean. Yep, and then in our connected component, we'll also add that. We will add use selector. Okay, what is it not happy about? Oh, we need to import it. Okay, that's all good now. So this will be interesting, right? So if we type ginger, showing 20 quick search results. If we scroll down to the bottom, we do see that this exists because there is a cursor. And in fact, if we look at the TRPC request response, so we can see the cursor was 95. This is the foods that find my name. So this is the one where we're hitting the DB. So 95 is the, must be the ID of the last record. Of course, we can't see that here because I don't think we include the ID of the record in the results, because it's not that kind of interface. Okay, but I think that's good. And then if we were to do a full search, it's got to think for a minute. This is it calling the Open Food Facts API, and hopefully not getting banned. And then, so we can see here, we got some results, and the cursor is 2, because this is a page-based cursor, where we're just gonna, we've got the first page of results, and we could get a second page of results. Okay, so what do we do with that information? I think the first thing that we can do is we're going to add a... How's this going to work? We can... How is this going to work? We can... now that we have the cursor in the store, we could probably change the existing thunk, the one that's triggered when we do a quick search or a full search, wherever we're calling dispatch. Here's search, and I guess the quick search happens when we... how does that happen? Let's see here. So food search. I guess that happens within the interaction with food search. Right? So is that right? Food to add, search results, more results, on show, on select food. Oh, right. The reason we have this here is there's a button outside of... if we do a quick search, we have this little bit of text and a button here that says show all results. And that we want to have it convert from a quick search to a full search, and that's why this is exposed here. Otherwise, all the other triggering of searches happens inside of the food search component. So, right, going back to our redux slice, we have, right, so we have this enter text thunk that when you enter text, if you don't enter more text or do whatever within half a second, we dispatch the quick search action, which is in fact another thunk that does our find by name. And then we have a different thunk for doing the full search. Now that we potentially have the cursor in the state, we could probably just change these thunks to pass the cursor along with it. And then what we would be doing, what we need to do is... I don't know if that would be a good idea, though. Because we don't want to... A behavior we don't want to have is, if I click this search button again, we wouldn't want it to fetch the next page of results. I would expect it to research, from the beginning. Right? So the only time we're going to use the cursor to search for more is when we scroll down. So maybe we should have a separate thunk that is dispatchable when we scroll down and would be responsible for doing the right thing. The right thing being either, either calling this or calling this. What's fun is we could probably... Let's see, how are these handlers different? I wish there was a way, if you select multiple lines, it could still highlight the lines that exactly match. Make it really easy to see when you have duplicate code, because it looks like the handlers for quick search, almost all of this is exactly the same, except for is quick search is true or false, and the quick search timeout gets reset. I'm thinking, because what I'm thinking right now is that what we could do is we could add, and I think I said part of this already, but add another thunk that is our pull more items async thunk that would, based on if the current state indicates whether the current search is a quick search or not, then either do one of these two TRPC calls, passing in the existing cursor from the state. And then what we have is we would add more cases here that would be identical to these existing cases for search or quick search, really in their entirety. They would be exactly the same. Uh, there's a better way of representing this, but the first thing that comes to mind for me is to just take these functions, extract them out, and then we can reuse them, and we can just call add case for the different fulfilleds and rejecteds of the thunks. In fact, maybe I should just look at the type here. Action creator. Are there multiple types for add case? Allows you to match your incoming actions against your own filter function instead of only the action type property. Add matcher. Yeah, we do some of this where we're looking for anything that's rejected or fulfilled. We wouldn't want to do that. Okay, well, anyway, we don't have to solve everything all at once. Okay, so let's say we added a thunk. Export const search more. Right. Yeah, the first argument is if there were like parameters in the dispatch, but there's not going to be here. So we're going to want the current state. I don't think we need to care if there's a cursor. I guess it would be weird if there wasn't a cursor. But I don't know that we need to care about that. Hey, I hit escape and it didn't pop up the thing from AWS Code Whisperer or whatever. So good. Fix that. Okay, so I don't care about looking at the cursor. What I want to do is I want to say if state.foodsearch dot quick is quick search. Okay, is this the right code? Find by name query, name cursor. String or null is not assignable as a string or undefined. Right, so that's kind of weird doing it. Like I'm so used to like, oh, it could be undefined. Let's have it fall back to null. But in this case, we want to do the opposite because this field in the input is not nullable. It's optional based on how we defined the validator in Zod. All right, so now if it's not a quick search, we're not going to do all this. We're going to do part of this. So we're going to return base trpc.foods. Yep, that. Name, cursor, and done. What is it that I have that auto-completed the code for me? I'm using GitHub Copilot. I'm actually paying GitHub money. Well, I was paying GitHub anyway for private repos and stuff, but yeah. They actually sent me an invite recently for the, there's the GitHub Copilot chat thing, but it requires that I have the, that I install the nightly version of VS Code and stuff, so I haven't gotten around to it yet. But yeah, it's an extension plus service. Whoa. What was that? Unemployed Dev has followed me. Hello, welcome. Thank you for the follow. The follow sound was kind of a jump scare for me. Yeah, so GitHub Copilot. GitHub describes it as your AI pair programmer, and I've had better pair programmers, but it's saved me at least a few minutes. Yeah. There's also a labs thing that I was trying at one point that has like you can give it more direction about code to generate and stuff. I think it was maybe crashing VS Code. At least when I uninstalled it, it stopped. But maybe it was something else. But yeah, I've been using this on this project for I guess a couple months now, and I like it. I think it's probably worth the money, at least for me. Um, what's fun is sometimes it will have like let's see if I go back here. There you go. Sometimes it'll have like, yeah, there we go. So sometimes it'll actually have multiple different suggestions. And yeah, this is the toolbar. There's also a thing, Copilot, a panel, and then you can see different solutions that you can pick from. So here, actually, suggestion 2 is what I was looking for, right? Because I'm not interested in handling the UPC case because there'll only ever be one result. So I can just accept that solution and it checks that code. All right, so this might work, right? So if we are already doing quick search, like if we're in quick search mode, then when I dispatch the search more thunk, this is going to run the TRPC procedure, find by name, with the existing search text and the existing cursor. It shouldn't be null. Like if we're here, because the UI shouldn't present an option to dispatch search more if cursor is null, but we'll get to that in a minute. And then if it's not quick search, then it's the full search, and we'll just do that. And then we just need to add the extra reducer bits here. So, like I said, I'm not going to copy and paste this yet again. It's time to do something else. So we're going to have a search fulfilled case. And then it's not an arrow function, so that'll go away. I wonder if there's a clever way to define the type here. Like instead if we did const this equals, I don't suppose Copilot? No? Any. Brilliant. Yeah. Let's... No. I'll figure out what the type is here in a minute. So this is what we're trying to do. So what is the type supposed to be for that second argument? It should be a case reducer of something. Any a extends action. Okay. That is, it's not great because it's still using any, but it's a little closer. And then we can just replace the same function here with that. And I guess we can also do the pending state is the case for that is a little bit different between quick search and normal. So I'll leave that for now, but the error handling is exactly the same and is going to be the same for this third case as well. So I'll extract that. What is this called? Rejected. So we'll have a const search rejected case. There we go. Copilot is making some progress. Of course, I can just paste the lines. There we go. And then some copy paste. So we want to do search more.pending. We don't want to say, is quick search true or false? It's whatever it was before. And then fulfilled and rejected. And now kind of the result of our search more is now hooked up to redux. So we'll feed whatever the result is back in, except this is wrong, isn't it? Yeah. Because this would take the results and overwrite the existing results, and that's not what we want to do. So in the case of search more, we want to do almost exactly the same thing, except we want to concat. Let's say search results or empty array. Concat that, and we want to say is that right? Editable draft. How does concat work again? Hold on. Quokka. TypeScript. Yeah, so if we have two arrays of values and we take the first array and concat the second array, then we have an array with all the values. Okay, just sanity checking that. Right, so we want to append the search results of our new search to the existing one so that wherever we're scrolled down in the UI, we'll now have the values from the search results, I think. So this should mostly work. Then what we need to do, I'm concerned that Quokka is going to keep on opening a new tab. Anyway, what we need to do is where we added our on scroll to bottom, handle scroll to bottom, we need to dispatch. Yeah, here we go. Dispatch search more. And this is probably going to complain about something. Yeah. I still have not figured out what the right type is to make it so the dispatch likes handling these thunks as dispatchable actions. But any works. All right, so if we search for ginger, we have a quick search. Let me clear the console here. We get 20 results, and if we scroll to the bottom, it loads more. And these are different things, so that's good. So it's not duplicating. If we go to the top, the first result was ginger and sesame salad dressing. One thing to keep an eye on is like, oh, it's not actually paginating, it's just fetching the same results over again. I think that's different. Yeah, so here we go. How many results are there? Okay, so this is what we have in the database. 54 quick search results. And there could be duplicates here if we had accidentally created duplicates in our upsert logic, which is also possible. And this looks right too. So we're seeing cursors, 95 and 71. We are, for the DB cursor, we're using ID and we're going in descending order. Because I thought, oh, there we go, the image is loaded. Because I thought that would kind of approximate kind of what I was thinking I would want in terms of seeing the most recent results. Now, if we do the full search, we should see this goes back to 20 results. And if we scroll to the bottom, we should see another 20 results from Open Food Facts. This is also simultaneously upserting any of these results into our database as well. So I guess this is effectively a way of crawling all the data from Open Food Facts for things that contain ginger, and it looks like we got an error. String must contain at most 100 characters for the label. So there is a food item that has a label that's longer than 100 characters. Whoops. uh, hmm. That will be a thing to fix. I don't suppose we know what the maximum length of one of those labels is. Fields. Oh yeah, none of this works because... Yeah, anyway. This is my local copy of this because I was having some trouble actually viewing their API docs online. Like the page just would never load. I ended up downloading it and then all the scripts were broken, so I just removed them. But unfortunately, that's broken some of that stuff. Anyway, so it seems to work. Except for the part where the schema is a little busted. But that doesn't have anything to do with infinite scrolling and has to do with a different issue. And honestly, this should be the description and the, let's see, how would we describe this? Food labels from Open Food Facts can be longer than the allowed size in schema data and validators. Validators, yes. And I'll put the error in the description. And that'll be a thing to fix. Maybe we could fix that right now, but I think we're pretty good. In a different setting, I might, come back and add all sorts of testing. And maybe someday that will happen, but I'm less inclined to do that right now. We tested it. It works. It'll probably, we'll break it at some point, but whatever. Yeah, so this is what all was changed. Yeah. I should put a disclaimer somewhere that the code I'm writing and showing is not necessarily representative of the my it's not necessarily that I'm saying it should be put into production. It's just what I'm gonna write. It's not necessarily my best work all the time. We'll get there, but All right, so allow infinite scrolling for food search results when searching by name, quick or full. Yeah, I think it does that. Publish that branch. I know you mean well, GitHub. And just go ahead and merge that when it's when everything passes. And maybe we can look into this bug. I think that'll be something that is achievable in the next 15 minutes or so. I don't know about this other one that I mentioned at the top of the stream. So let's take a look at this one. Food labels can be longer than the allowed size. So the question is, where is that limitation coming from? So there's really two possibilities. One is a limitation in our schema for Prisma, schema.prisma. And we have all sorts of model stuff in here. But I think what we're looking for is in food. And so we say it's a string. So probably then it is a limitation in the um, the validation for the procedure, right? So where's that again? Server procedures. Um, hmm. Well, we were using find external by name, so there's that. Um, we are using collection.map. We're using convert food to DB, convert food from DB. So what does convert food to DB do? It just makes a copy of the food and adds serving unit to it. Great. Okay, so nothing too fancy. If this was an issue with our Zod validation, it would be happening in this validator, food output with ID, because that's where the data from Open Food Facts first hits Zod validators, which maybe we should have that validation first be checked before we try to do the upsert, because otherwise we could introduce a situation in which we've put the data into the database, but the front end would reject it. So let's add a to-do here for now. I love it. Copilot often has this as a suggested to-do, which I think is a bad to-do. To-do, this is a bit of a hack, but works for now. It's not, it should be, what is the hack? What is bad about it? Anyway. Or maybe I could create an issue in the project, but I already have a thing in the project actually to say, go grab all the to-dos and put them in. So for now, this is fine to do. Consider checking Zod validation on the results prior to upserting to the database. Is a thing probably worth considering, regardless of this issue at hand that we're working through right now. And then if we are having a problem with the validator, then we want to look at food output with ID, which takes the food output, which takes food input and extends it. So we just have a set of validators here that we're extending and adding additional fields to. So food input is a name, the label is a name validator. And we've said that names should be at most 100 characters. For some reason. So honestly, this could probably just actually be like this. I don't know that we actually need to constrain it that way. Something worth checking. I think I don't have that extension anymore to actually look at the SQLite DB. Prisma DevDB. Nope, I guess I don't anymore. I used to have an extension for VS Code where you could just like click the SQLite database. Maybe if it was called SQLite, open with SQL. Nope. Okay, I guess I don't have it anymore. But you could like inspect the DB directly in there. Maybe I have. I guess I don't have that program installed. Okay, well, anyway. We can look at the Prisma docs for the schema. And what I'm looking for here is so this is a server, no, schema.prisma. This is just a string. So what does Prisma do with the string on SQLite? Database connectors, SQLite. Okay, a string in the data model is text in SQLite. So let's look at SQLite text. Data types in SQLite. Text, the value is a text string stored using the database encoding. Is there a limitation on size other than size on disk, like how much disk space you have? Type affinity, column affinity, comparison expressions, operators. Okay. Max length. Okay. Okay. Limits. Text. Defaults to million billion. So a gig. All right. I don't think that's a problem. So for now, we could just change the validator. So we changed that and we added a to do there. And we'll just add this to the fix issue with, whoops. You saw nothing. Oh, and it's merged. Okay, well, I guess I'll just make a new issue out of this. Convert to issue, daily joule, 174. We can check out main, stash and checkout, and no message. Ding. And work on that. And git stash pop should bring us back the file the changes that we just made. Cool. Commit. Publish branch. Well, that was easier than I was thinking it might be. I don't know. I was thinking that the database model had a restriction on field size, a column size for that. But I think probably just because I'm so used to encountering those sorts of issues in my work life. But not here. So that's good. Enable auto merge. And our other PR is merged. So I think this feels like a pretty good place to end it for today. We're almost at the 3-hour mark, which is right around the goal. I want to thank everyone for watching, hanging out, chatting, all that. Next week, we'll be doing some more things. Hold on, I have a different review here. Doing some more things on the app. What do we have here? So the thing we didn't get to today was preventing the front end from attempting to fetch user settings when we're not even on a view that you need to be logged in for, or at least not showing an error about it if you aren't logged in. And then maybe we can work on some storybook interaction tests. It's been a while. Loading skeletons to prevent layout changes. There's definitely been some things today where I've noticed the UI resizing that maybe it shouldn't have such a dramatic change in size while we're loading other things. And lots of other like odds and ends in terms of getting this app ready to go. And yeah, so tomorrow I'm going to be streaming some modded Minecraft. Probably most of the day. I don't exactly know when I'm going to start. It's going to be kind of a surprise. But since tomorrow is a holiday for those of us in the US, I decided I'd make like a kind of a marathon kind of day out of it. So I'll be doing some Minecraft with the Create Astral mod pack, kind of continuing that playthrough. And then more of that on Wednesday, X4 on Friday, and then back around next Sunday for more coding of Daily Joule. So thanks again for hanging out, watching, and until next time. Bye-bye. Oh, that's the wrong button. That should be that button. And then, all right, bye-bye.